Shalom. Today I want to show you an idea that can completely change the way you think about miracles, prayer, and your own ability to shape what happens in life. This may sound shocking at first, so stay with me, because the ending matters. God is not waiting for you to beg harder. God is not hoping you become more dramatic in prayer. God wants something deeper. God wants connection, yes, but God also wants movement. God wants action. God wants you to step forward instead of collapsing into fear. He does not want you to sit in weakness and keep asking for a miracle while ignoring the power and tools already placed in your hands. He wants you to use them. He wants you to move. He wants you to build the vessel that can hold the blessing. Let me show you what that means. In Exodus 14, the people of Israel stand at the Red Sea. Behind them is Pharaoh's army, fast and deadly, chariots, soldiers, dust in the air, panic everywhere. The people cry out. They think death is seconds away. Moses does what almost any religious person would do in that moment. He turns upward, he cries out to God, he prays, he pleads, and then comes the line that changes everything. God says, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward." Think about that. The people are trapped, the sea is in front of them, the enemy is behind them. Moses is praying, and God says, in simple words, "Why are you still crying out? Move, advance, step forward." That is not a rejection of prayer, it is a correction of prayer. It is God saying, I already gave you access. I already gave you the channel. I already gave you the tools. Do not freeze now. Use them. This is where most people miss the secret. They think the miracle starts in heaven, but often the miracle starts the moment someone takes one fearless step toward the water. Most people have been taught a story that keeps them small. The story says this: if I pray enough, if I suffer enough, if I am good enough, then maybe God will finally decide to help me. But that idea does not match the deeper spiritual pattern. In Isaiah chapter 1, the prophet gives a fierce message. God says he is tired of empty offerings, tired of meaningless rituals, tired of hands raised in prayer when the inner life is still crooked. Even when many prayers are spoken, the channel is not open in the way people imagine. Why? Because the issue is not that God became stingy. The issue is not that heaven closed. The issue is that people confuse begging with connection. God is not lacking kindness. God is not short on power. God is not deciding each day whether to be generous. The wisdom of Kabbalah teaches that the Creator is endless giving, constant flow, unbroken supply. So the real question is not, why is God not giving me what I need? The real question is, why am I not receiving what is already flowing? Here is the simplest picture. Electricity is already moving through the walls of your house. It does not stop because you are sad. It does not increase because you cry louder. It is there, steady, ready. But if your device is not plugged in, you do not receive the power. Not because the current vanished, but because the connection is missing. That is how prayer must be understood. Prayer is not a speech to persuade God to become kinder than he already is. Prayer is meant to connect you, to align you, to tune you, to plug you in. And once that connection happens, you are not supposed to stay frozen. You are supposed to move. This is the part many people skip. They want the light, but not the vessel. They want the breakthrough, but not the step. Keep watching this idea, because now the deeper tools begin to appear. One of the oldest teachings hidden in this story is found in Exodus 14, in 3 verses placed right where the sea is about to split. These verses, according to the Kabbalistic tradition, contain a special code. Each one has exactly 72 letters. And from that pattern comes 72 three-letter combinations, known as the 72 names of God. These are not names in the ordinary sense. They are not labels. They are not little charms. They are not spiritual decorations. They are frequencies. They are access points. They are forms of divine intelligence mapped into letters. Each one is linked to a different quality in reality. One is tied to healing, one to protection, one to removing negative force, one to mercy, one to abundance, one to breakthrough. This is why the sea story is not just history. It is a living map. The teaching says that Moses did not stand there helplessly, hoping heaven would suddenly feel pity. He stood there able to connect to a divine pattern already present inside creation. That changes the whole picture. Miracles stop looking random. They start looking like alignment. Now do not misunderstand this. These names are not magic tricks. They are not shortcuts for lazy people. They are not a way to demand reality obey your ego. They are spiritual technology, and technology only works when you understand how to use it. If you need a certain result, the old wisdom says you do not just cry about it. You connect to the frequency related to that result. You meditate, you focus, you visualize the letters, you refine your consciousness, you align with the quality you seek, and then, and this is the part nobody should skip, you act, you move, you do your part in the physical world. That is the pattern. Connection above, action below, frequency inside, movement outside. Do not miss that balance. It is the hinge of the whole teaching. Without it, people turn spiritual wisdom into fantasy. With it, the path becomes alive. Another key principle is this. Consciousness shapes reality, not in a shallow, trendy, feel-good way, in a deep spiritual way. The physical world is not separate from inner life. Matter is the outer face of what exists in the unseen layers first. What you hold in consciousness affects the form life takes around you. Again, go back to the sea. Moses faced a wall of water, but the deeper battle was not only outside him, it was inside him. If he only saw disaster, he would stand inside disaster. If he only saw blockage, he would remain trapped by blockage. But if he could connect to the possibility that was already hidden inside that impossible moment, the whole scene could change. That is exactly what the wisdom teaches. The miracle did not begin with the water. It began with consciousness aligned to divine possibility. Many people live surrounded by doors they cannot see because their inner life is tuned only to fear. They see lack, so they live inside lack. They expect failure, so they move like failure is already written. They rehearse disaster, and then act shocked when life begins to look like the script they kept repeating. But when consciousness changes, perception changes. When perception changes, action changes, and when action changes, outcomes start to change. This is why some people see a closed road, and another person sees an opening hidden inside it. One is staring at the stone, the other is already reaching for the key. Kabbalah teaches that miracles are not always violations of the laws of nature. Sometimes they are the sudden reordering of reality around a consciousness that has come into real alignment. That is why fear matters. That is why faith matters. That is why inner clarity matters. You cannot spend all day feeding yourself thoughts of limitation and then expect expansion to feel natural when it arrives. Reality often mirrors the level you are willing to hold. If you want a different world, you cannot keep worshipping the old one inside your mind. Still, even consciousness is not enough by itself. This is where the teaching becomes sharp. Prayer without action is incomplete. Meditation without action is incomplete. Vision without action is incomplete. You can sit with beautiful thoughts for years and still remain stuck because you never created a vessel in the real world. God did not tell Moses, pray longer. God did not say, sing one more song, cry one more cry, repeat one more holy sentence. God said, move forward. The movement matters. The first step matters. The willingness to enter the place that still looks impossible matters. I once saw this truth in a very simple modern story. A woman wanted to start a business. She had a strong idea, real passion, and enough talent to make it work, but fear kept locking every door in her mind. She kept saying she needed more money, more certainty, more contacts, more proof. So she prayed every day. She asked for success. She asked for help. She asked for a sign. Nothing changed. Finally, she was told something simple and hard. The answer may already be here, but you are not moving. Register the business. Build a simple site. Make your first offer. Stop waiting for the full staircase. Take one step. She did. Not perfectly, not with complete confidence, but she moved. Soon one client came, then another, then more. Within months, the thing that felt impossible had become real. What changed? Not God's goodness. That had not changed at all. What changed was that connection and action finally met each other. Prayer had prepared the inside, action built the vessel outside, and once the vessel existed, the flow had somewhere to land. That is how many miracles happen. Quietly at first, then suddenly. First a step, then an opening, then a shift big enough to make you look back and say, the sea really did part. Now someone may hear all this and object. They may say, this sounds like human power replacing God. It sounds like self-help dressed in holy language. But that is not the point at all. The teaching does not remove God. It restores your relationship to God. You still need divine power. You still need the source. You still need the flow. but you do not need to act like a beggar trying to soften heaven. You need to act like someone learning how to connect to what heaven is already pouring out. Think again of electricity. Your phone needs power from outside itself, but you do not kneel beside the wall and beg the current to feel compassion. You plug in. That is the model. Connection, not desperation. Access, not emotional collapse. Alignment, not endless pleading. From there, the path becomes practical. First, get clear on what you actually need. Is it healing? Is it protection? Is it wisdom? Is it peace? Is it financial breakthrough? The old teaching says each need has a matching spiritual frequency. Second, connect to that frequency. This is where meditation, holy letters, prayer with intention, and inner focus matter. You are tuning the instrument of your own consciousness. Third, and this is still the key, move forward. Make the call, send the message, apologize, start the project, apply for the work, open the conversation, take the honest risk. Do not keep asking for doors while refusing to turn the handle. This is the point where spiritual people often stall. They love the invisible part because it feels noble, but the visible part is where faith gets tested. Real trust steps, real trust builds, real trust enters the water before it sees dry land. And yes, sometimes the miracle comes in a dramatic way, but often it comes through ordinary events that begin to line up with unusual precision. An answer arrives, a meeting opens, a resource appears, an obstacle loosens, a timing shifts. If you are only looking for lightning, you may miss the quiet hand of God moving through the natural world. There is another warning that must be said, because this teaching can easily be twisted by people who want power without growth. The 72 names are not magic words for feeding ego. They are not cheat codes for greed. They are not tools for domination. Spiritual technology only works correctly when the person using it is becoming more aligned, more honest, more generous, more awake. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes empty theater. This is why the prophets speak so strongly about inner life. A person can pray beautifully and still be cruel. A person can talk about miracles and still lie, cheat, exploit, and judge everyone around them. In that state, the outer practice may continue, but the real connection is damaged. The issue is not perfection. Nobody reaches perfect purity in one day. The issue is direction. Are you walking toward truth or away from it? Are you trying to serve or only to take? Are you becoming softer in heart or harder? Are you using spiritual language to avoid your own shadows, or are you actually doing the inner work? Moses was not just a man with a formula. He was a man shaped by years of refinement, humility, struggle, and surrender. So when he stood at the sea, he was not grabbing spiritual power for personal ego. He was aligned with a purpose bigger than himself. That matters more than people think, because when the ego is driving, even sacred tools get bent into selfish use. Then people say the wisdom failed, but often the wisdom did not fail. The heart behind the practice was still crooked. This is the turning point many viewers need to hear. If you want access, work on the inside. If you want greater power, grow in responsibility. If you want miracles, become the kind of person who can hold them without corruption. Stay with that. It may be the most important line in this whole message. I remember a man who became excited when he first learned about these teachings on abundance. He wanted success quickly. He wanted money. He wanted proof. So he began using the practices every day. He meditated. He focused on the letters. He tried to connect to the frequency of prosperity. But month after month, very little changed. He became angry. He said the system was empty. He said the promises were false. Then came the harder question. How are you treating people? Are you honest with clients? Are you fair in business? Are you generous when you have enough? Or are you still cutting corners, hiding truth, and operating from greed? The silence answered everything. He had been trying to pull blessing into a container built from selfishness. He wanted divine abundance while acting from scarcity in the soul. He wanted overflow while keeping a closed fist. That contradiction matters. He was told something he did not want to hear. You do not need to be flawless, but you do need to become aligned. Stop using spiritual practice to cover moral disorder. Start cleaning the vessel. For a while he resisted. Then life pressed him enough that he changed. He became more honest. He treated people better. He gave more freely. He stopped thinking only about what he could extract. And after that, things began to shift. Opportunities appeared. Trust grew. Financial flow improved. Was it magic? No, it was alignment. The inner life and the outer action finally matched the spiritual request. That is why some people touch these teachings and see no result, while others see a real opening. The difference is often not intelligence. It is integrity. The deeper currents of life respond to more than technique. They respond to the state of the vessel. If the vessel is cracked by ego, the flow leaks out. If the vessel is strengthened by sincerity, gratitude, service and truth, then what was already available can finally be received. That is why inner work is not a side topic. It is central. Without it, spiritual language becomes decoration. With it, the path becomes real. Here is one more layer that ties the entire message together. Kabbalah speaks about two kinds of miracles. Some miracles change nature in a way that looks impossible. Water splits, time bends, a door opens that no human plan could explain. These are dramatic, they shake people awake, but many miracles do not come like that. Many work through nature. A chance meeting happens at the right hour. A business opportunity arrives through a simple conversation. A doctor finds the right treatment. A relationship is restored through one honest exchange. A new path appears inside what looked like a dead end. To the surface eye, these things can look like luck, coincidence, timing, or ordinary cause and effect. But from a deeper angle, they are still miracles. They are the flow of divine intelligence through natural channels. And here is the humble part. You do not get to choose the form every time. You do not command heaven to make the sea split in the way your ego prefers. You connect, you align, you act, and then you trust that the answer will arrive in the form most fitting for the moment. Sometimes the miracle will look supernatural. Sometimes it will look so natural that only a grateful heart will notice how impossible its timing really was. This is why mature faith is not obsessed with spectacle. Mature faith is obsessed with connection. It says, I will do the inner work. I will refine my intention. I will use the tools with humility. I will step forward. And I will stay open to the form the answer takes. That mindset changes everything. It removes entitlement. It removes spiritual arrogance. It removes the childish demand that God must perform on our schedule and in our preferred style. Instead, it produces partnership. You tune in, you move, you watch, and somewhere in that sacred meeting place between heaven's flow and your willing step, the impossible begins to soften. That is where people suddenly look back and realize the thing they prayed for did not simply fall from the sky. It arrived through a path that had been opening around them the whole time. So what does all this mean for you right now, today, in real life? It means the power may already be closer than you think. The current may already be flowing. The question is whether you are connected and whether you are willing to move. It means you should stop measuring prayer only by emotion. Tears can be real, but tears alone are not the whole path. It means you should stop waiting to feel perfectly ready before taking the first honest step. Read that again in your spirit. Perfect readiness is not usually the doorway. Movement is. It means you should ask harder questions inside yourself. What frequency am I feeding every day? Fear or faith? Lack or abundance? Bitterness or service? Am I trying to use holy ideas to force life to obey me? Or am I allowing holy truth to transform me first? These questions matter because they decide the quality of the vessel. And if this message is landing with you, do not let it become just another inspiring speech you enjoyed for 10 minutes before returning to the same patterns. Take one piece of it into action. One, that is enough to begin. Maybe your step is to repair a broken relationship. Maybe it is to stop hiding and finally launch the work you know you were meant to do. Maybe it is to study more deeply. Maybe it is to pray differently, not from panic, but from alignment. Maybe it is to become more honest, where you have been bending the truth. Choose the step, then move. If this idea opened your eyes, hold on to it. The next layer goes even deeper. The specific uses of these sacred patterns, the practical side of how they connect to health, wealth, protection and breakthrough. That is a longer road and a serious one. But the foundation is already here. Stop crying out as though power is absent. Stop acting as though heaven is closed. The power is present, the flow is on, the invitation is open. And let me leave you with the line that keeps echoing through this whole teaching. Why are you crying out to me? Move forward. That sentence is not only for Moses. It is for anyone standing at a personal sea, anyone trapped between pressure behind and uncertainty ahead, anyone praying for a change while still refusing the step that change requires. It is for the person waiting for confidence before starting, when confidence will only come after beginning. It is for the person asking for abundance while staying loyal to thoughts of lack. It is for the person asking for healing while still feeding patterns that poison the heart. It is for the person wanting a miracle without becoming a vessel for one. The old wisdom does not say you are powerless. It says you are connected to a higher power, and because of that, your choices matter, your consciousness matters, your integrity matters, your movement matters. The sea may not split the way you imagine. The answer may not arrive with thunder, but if you connect, if you align, if you purify your intention, and if you move forward, reality can shift in ways that feel impossible until they happen. That is the invitation, not to become arrogant, not to play God, not to chase spiritual spectacle, but to stop living like a disconnected beggar when you were created to become a conscious partner with divine flow. So ask yourself honestly, what miracle do I need? What quality do I need to connect to? Where have I been praying without moving? Where have I been asking for light without building the vessel? Sit with that, then act on it. One step, one clear move, one honest decision, and watch carefully. Because sometimes the biggest miracle is not the split sea in front of you. Sometimes the biggest miracle is the new person you become when you finally stop begging at the shore and start walking toward the water.